Everyone wants to look better, but no one actually knows how. We are sold fad diets, marketing scams, and gimmicky products that don't actually tackle the root cause. People spend hours on 20-step skincare routines which actually damage their skin barrier. They spend tens of thousands of dollars on facial surgeries and procedures which only tackle the symptom, lead to uncanny results, and lead to relapse and health issues long term. Others will simply believe that it is just genetics without realizing that it is habit that determines the most important bone in our face, the maxilla, which is the bone that determines how the rest of your face develops. The truth is that looks is health. Looksmaxing is actually just Healthmaxing. And no matter how old you are, you can always improve your health, you can always rewire your habits, and therefore your looks will follow as a byproduct. I spent years interning at Myofunctional institutes, researching on scientific papers to the point where now I'm even working with MDs to launch my own scientific study. And I spent years desperately testing, experimenting, and working with myself to fix all of the issues I had. I guarantee that I had worse issues than nearly all of you watching. I fixed my asymmetry, my scoliosis, improved my asthma, fixed my sleep apnea, my bruxism, aligned my bite, straightened my crooked teeth, widened my cheekbones, brought my jaw forward, straightened my nose, corrected my flat feet, my Osgood-Schlatters, improved my eyesight from -10.5 to -3. I also improved my physique, grew 3 inches taller just from fixing my posture, healed my gut, cleared my acne, fixed my dandruff, and therefore my entire appearance has rewired purely by tackling the actual root cause. So here is exactly how you can Looksmax the real way in 2026. And if you found this video, if you're still watching, this will genuinely change your life. Let's get cracking. First and foremost, I mentioned that our habits dictate even more than our genetics. Let me explain. Our genetics is literally just the health and habits of our ancestors, and you have full control over your own health and habits. Most people in the modern world are formula fed instead of breastfed. We're forced pacifiers which act as a barrier between our tongue and our palate, and your tongue, as you'll learn, is the main driver of facial growth. We are then forced to get braces too young. We're forced to wear shoes and move in improper patterns. We're exposed to toxic chemicals, soft food that doesn't force us to chew and engage our facial muscles. As a result, our faces are recessed, collapsed, and shifted backwards, and we blame genetics rather than the modern lifestyle for all the issues that we're facing. The 4 key habits that determine your face are chewing, swallowing, breathing, and posture. Seriously, remember that, write that down, and ingrain that, brand that into your mind. Those are the key myofunctional habits. And the contrast to this is that most people have parafunctional habits, bad habits. You swallow on average 650 times per day. You chew thousands and thousands of times per day. You're breathing in and out every single second, and you're constantly holding your body up. These dictate your body, they activate the muscles, and they shape your face. And it's to the point where Dr. John Mew, and I'm actually working with his son, Dr. Mike Mew, founder of Mewing. We're collaborating on some projects together at the moment, which is just amazing. But his father, Dr. John Mew, even proposed a very important principle, that children look like their parents, not just because they inherit their genetics, but because they adopt their posture, their habits, and their expressions. And therefore, these expressions, these habits are what form a similar facial structure. And there is actually some research on this with how similar children look relative to their adopted parents, and it is exceptionally fascinating. And I tell you this not to waste your time, but to actually provide you with the conviction that no matter how old you are, you'll breathe, you'll swallow, you'll chew millions more times throughout your life, and these habits will dictate your bones, your facial structure by a matter of millimeters. And the only difference between a normal person and a supermodel is millimeters. The only difference between a person that develops sleep apnea and a person that has perfect breathing and perfect health is a matter of millimeters in the width of their palate. So without further ado, let's break down exactly how you're going to improve these habits. First and foremost, let's start off with breathing. Breathing is foundational, and I want you to remember one key thing. The fewer breaths you take, the longer you live. We live in a world where people are constantly stressed, and as a result, we are prone to shallow breathing. We take more breaths than we should. We are stuck in sympathetic states, and this affects nearly every single process within our body. And most people will tell you, okay, fine, breathe through your nose. That's fundamental. Obviously, you should be nasal breathing. When you breathe through your nose, you filter more nitric oxide, which increases blood flow, increases health. And also, when you have your mouth open and when you're breathing through your mouth, your tongue cannot rest on your palate, and you'll see a reoccurring theme. It is your tongue that drives the maxilla, the bone in the middle of your skull, and is the maxilla which then develops your face upwards and forwards. However, I want to go one step further. Not only should you be breathing through your nose, but it's actually a little trap. Most people will instinctively take a deep breath However, you shouldn't be breathing upwards through your chest into the top of your nose and your head. You should be breathing backwards. This is foundational. Your nasal cavity is more spacious horizontally than it is vertically. And we even have these structures within our nose called nasal turbinates or conchi, which are arranged in a horizontal pattern. As a result, when you breathe backwards, not only does your diaphragm lower, your rib cage expand. When your rib cage expands, the thoracic fascia glides. When the thoracic fascia glides, the cervical fascia releases. The cranial base decompresses. When the cranial base decompresses, your tongue rests against the roof of your mouth, but also these structures allow you to filter air more efficiently, which leads to even further nitric oxide uptake. It leads to further optimized systems throughout your entire body, where your fascia is more mobile, even in places like your abdominal wall, which means your digestion improves and also your posture improves, because the breath is the foundation of the fascia, and the fascia is posture. And if you don't know what fascia is a layer of connective tissue that runs throughout your entire body. Again, I will speak in this in more depth later, but this layer of connective tissue is wrapped around every single muscle in your body. When you raise one arm and stretch, you are shortening and tensing fascia in your lower hip, because your body is one interconnected system. In order to push, something has to pull. Our body is wired as a system, and if we are constantly stressed, you can imagine what happens to the fascia. It recoils, it becomes tighter, and it doesn't facilitate proper movement, proper gliding, and every process within your body, because your fascia is basically your body's biggest sensory organ. It indicates to your brain what is happening, indicates to your nervous system when it's tight, when it's tense. Your body stresses, stops operating as efficiently as possible. And even just by breathing in a shallow pattern, you're only operating at maximum 70% of your genetic potential just from this one key habit. So breathe backwards into your face like this, rather than like this. Do you see? Your breath should be silent, like a killer. It shouldn't be loud, it shouldn't be nasally, it should be like a massive volcano. It should be silent. Operating backwards, your neck comes up, your posture realigns, your rib cage opens, and you feel like a beast. This is step one. And I want you to take it one step further. I also want you to try and breathe in 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out. This is the best breathing pattern. And again, the less breaths you take, the longer you live. When you breathe less, when you breathe more efficiently, you will live longer, you will add years back onto your life, you will sleep better, recover faster, have more energy, and become the best version of yourself in every aspect. You literally buy back your time exponentially just by fixing your breathing. And you don't need a 50-minute breathwork routine. You don't need special devices or external products. You need to work with your mind to take control of your body. 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out. This is your basic breathing pattern. Now moving on to step 2, let's get on to posture. And posture is actually fundamentally important. Your breath obviously dictates your fascia, and your fascia dictates your posture, but it gets slightly more complicated and tricky, and I'm going to try and break it down as efficiently as possible. And by the way, if you're interested in all of these things and you want more detail and you want more depth and you want it personalized to you, you can check the link in the description. My private community, which you are more than welcome to join. You don't have to, you can watch these YouTube videos for free, but I know this information can be overwhelming. I know it can be slightly confusing, so I just want to throw that out there, but let's keep cracking. Your posture dictates everything. Your feet support your legs support your lower back supports your upper back supports your neck supports your head. If the foundation of your posture is off, everything develops out of alignment, to the point where even if you look at your feet right now as you're standing or you're sitting, or even if you stand up right now and you look at your feet, most people will have one foot that goes slightly more inwards and one foot slightly more outwards. And this will mimic your exact facial asymmetry. It will also mimic your body posture, where if you have one shoulder higher, one shoulder lower, if you have scoliosis, if you have an uneven palate, if you're one eye higher than the other, one jaw muscle more developed, this is because the foundation of your body, your posture, is out of alignment. And your posture is the indicator. It is the guide for your body. It is telling your body how to adapt. If your neck doesn't support your head properly and your back neck muscles are underdeveloped, your head posture sinks forward and backwards. You develop forward head posture, and this is an indicator to your face to develop downwards and backwards, because when you're in this position, your body always takes the path of least resistance. It is slightly easier to keep your mouth open than it is to funnel air, because the airway is being obstructed. As a result, your mouth comes slowly open. These muscles around your lips, like the orbicularis oris, become underdeveloped, which prevents proper swallowing. This leads to worsened tongue posture over time, and the tongue muscles becoming less developed. Then the skin under your jaw begins to sag down, this hyoid skin. In this position, fascial tension and lymphatic fluid doesn't get drained properly, and so slowly over time, your face is developing backwards and downwards. There are so many systems within your body body. When I interned at Myofunctional Institutes, I learned about one key thing called the SMAS, the superficial musculo-aponeurotic system, which is basically the chain of fascia running throughout your entire face. And when this becomes tense and the vectors shift down, proprioception, and again, I know this is complicated, I'm gonna break it down as simply as possible, but things like proprioception, which is just your nervous system's basic feedback loop, gets out of whack. Your jaw becomes out of alignment with your neck, so you're not able to chew properly because your body doesn't know what's happening. When you don't chew properly, you don't develop mechanotransduction, and everything becomes messed up. And again, people blame genetics, but it is purely just because we've been sitting our entire lives, we wear shoes our entire lives, which constricts our toe splay, forces the tendon at the top of your foot to not get activated, your feet go outwards, your pelvis shifts out of alignment, people develop anterior pelvic tilt. Nearly everyone who has APT will develop an overbite. When you develop an overbite, you don't have space for your tongue, and again, you see the connection. So what is step one? Step one is super easy, my friends. And again, I know I'm speaking fast, but I've got to drop facts for all of you. I only have an hour. I know that sounds long, but we've got to keep pushing. Firstly, I want you to look at your feet. If you have decent fascia, you'll see a tendon at the top of your foot. This is the anterior tibial tendon. This tendon is responsible for ankle dorsiflexion, which is a complicated way of saying it's linked to the processes which create an arch in your foot rather than having flat feet. If you flex this tendon, you will almost instantly notice the arch in your foot activates, the muscles in your foot contract, and this creates a better foundational support. So the best exercise to perform is to take a slant board. I want you to stand on this slant board. I want you to hold it for 60 seconds, flexing that tendon on each foot and repeat it twice. If you want to get a bit more complicated before doing the exercise, you can take a tennis ball, stand on the tennis ball and roll your foot out. Imagine this is the ball, imagine this is my foot. You're standing on it, you're rolling it out, and you're beginning to release the fascial adhesions created from wearing shoes, from sitting down, and from breathing shallow your entire life. That is step one. From there, I want you to begin to move up your body. I'm not going to say absolutely everything, and again, people will have different deficiencies. You will need more specific information, and you can join the community. But the second most common thing is people will have pelvic tilt. If you have pelvic tilt, I want you to follow the RSS method. Release the fascia, stretch the hip flexors, and strengthen the glutes. This can be as simple as taking a tennis ball. Not only do you roll out your foot this time, you roll out the entire back part of your body, starting with your feet, going to your hamstrings, going to your glutes, going to your back, going even to the neck by putting a tennis ball against the wall and rolling your neck against the wall. This will release the fascia. From there, you need to stretch the hip flexors. You can perform basic exercises like the quad wall stretch. I'd recommend doing 2 to 3 hip flexor stretches, and then from there, you can strengthen the glutes. You perform exercises like hip thrusts or glute dominant back extensions. This will activate the foot-glute connection, which is the foundation of fascia. Again, without getting sidetracked, if you look at Usain Bolt, if you look at any sprinters, when they run, when they sprint, only their toes hit their ground. You see the tendon going nearly all the way up their shin, and this creates this spiral pattern going from the top of their toes to the back of their glutes. As a result, they're activating their glutes, they're feeling it within their entire body, not just feeling it in their calves, not just feeling it in their feet, and this allows your entire body to function as a system, and therefore you move better, you breathe better, and everything functions efficiently. So follow the RSS method for anterior pelvic tilt. The next thing for posture is most people will have bad neck posture. You can separate the body into thirds. What I want you to imagine from here is to separate your body from the neck upwards. If you don't have proper neck posture, your head recedes backwards, as we mentioned briefly. So what I want you to do is perform neck extensions. You can get a neck training device. They're relatively efficient, but I would be careful and make sure you're doing it correctly. Or you can perform neck extensions by lying off the edge of a bench with a weighted plate or just with body weight. And again, this is regardless of gender. This works for any person at any age because we are all meant to have the same shaped palates. The only difference between a man and a woman is hormones. The wider a woman's palate, that doesn't mean the more masculine their jaw becomes. It actually means the wider their cheekbones, the more feminine they become because the maxilla becomes more developed. If you're a man and you have high testosterone rather than progesterone, then your jaw becomes more square and more developed because the bone density is dictated by hormones, but the structure remains the same. So whether you're a man or a woman, perform these neck extensions, strengthen the back neck muscles, and if you want to do it perfectly, you can also combine this with advanced chin tucks or weighted chin tucks, where you lie off the edge of a bench, curl your neck, and then tuck your chin. And when you're doing this, I want you to keep your tongue on the roof of the mouth. I want you to flex your jaw as hard as possible and feel these connections. As we explained before, your feet travel all the way up to your head, and it's connected even through something called the superficial front line. If you want an interesting book on this, you can read Anatomy Trains by Thomas Myers. Your feet connect all the way to your head, to your tongue, and therefore you should be trying to flex and activate these things. Even when you're doing hip thrusts, activate the tendon in your feet, keep your tongue against the roof of your mouth. When you're doing any exercise, when you're sprinting, you should try to flex that tendon. You should try to breathe through your nose. Obviously, that won't allow you to go absolutely as fast as possible, but it will train the proper systems and mechanics. Professional sprinters train while nasal breathing, not while mouth breathing. They only mouth breathe during the final sprint, the final race, to provide maximum output and to channel every system to run as fast as possible. That doesn't mean you should be mouth breathing 24/7. So that is how to fix your posture. Now let's keep cooking to habit 3. Again, I know you're getting bored, I know you're getting lazy, but I need you to lock in. The better you look, the better you feel, the more opportunities you get, the best version of yourself you become, you have more energy, and you will literally feel like a whole new person. We are literally zombies in the modern world. No one has energy, no one knows how they should feel, no one even knows what it feels like to be human. So you owe it to yourself. If you're still watching this video, please, I beg you, just take action. Step 3 is chewing. I'm gonna keep this short and simple. I'm not gonna waste any of your time. When you chew, there's one key thing called the masseter temporalis complex. You have the temporalis muscles in your temple here. You have your masseter muscles in your jaw here. These masseter muscles are the strongest muscles within your body, pound for pound. They generate the most force and they're key. However, you should be prioritizing engagement within your masseters, but that doesn't mean the temporalis are useless. They are meant to be stretched. They're just not meant to be overactivated. You'll see many people with different face shapes. Face shapes are not real. They are formed from bad habits. People mimic the habits of their parents, they mimic the habits that they see of other people, and they form the same face shapes. Someone could go from a round face to a square face purely by chewing correctly, so listen up. When you chew, you need to be chewing forward and you need to be chewing bilaterally. Sounds complicated, but it just means you need to be chewing on each side, and every single time you chew, I want you to roll your lower jaw slightly forward like this. It sounds weird, and again, it sounds really complicated, but if you imagine it, then your lower teeth are slightly colliding just behind the upper. It's shifting ever so slightly further forward, and you'll be able to feel a bigger connection within your masseters. And this is what we call forward chewing. And if you don't understand that and you want something slightly easier, you can just do this for 1 to 2 minutes per day while you're chewing some harder food like a steak. You can frown and then bite down. And you'll see instantly when you do that, you deactivate these muscles around your lips, you force masseter activation, and then you'll develop better mind-muscle connection. And then when you chew normally, you'll be able to activate your masseters more efficiently. But again, you're not just trying to deactivate these temporalis muscles, you're trying to stretch them. You're trying to prioritize masseter engagement, but every muscle within your face serves a purpose. So chew forward, chew bilaterally. You can even chew while frowning if you have to. But you do need to realize chewing is responsible for mechanotransduction, and it is exceptionally important. The reason that people have maldeveloped facial structures in the first place is because we didn't chew properly from birth. We're fed soft, processed food, and therefore we don't use the muscles, and the muscles actually generate osteoblasts. Osteoblasts develop new bone matrix. So people think that they can't change their faces after puberty. They just aren't working smart enough. If you chew effectively, you're generating more than enough osteoblasts to develop new bone matrix and therefore shift your mandible, your jaw further forward. And here are some more transformations, some more proof from my community, which you can check out on the screen right now. All of these transformations are 21 plus years old, to the point where even Catherine, who I worked with one-to-one directly at 69 years old, fixed her severe sleep apnea, which she'd had for decades, and she was wearing a CPAP machine. And just by activating the correct muscles and slightly expanding her palate, sleep apnea gone. Sleep apnea increases all rates of mortality by over 4x. So if Catherine can do it, you can. And by the way, she's a legend. Same thing with my mum, who's 58, by the way, but I digress. Final habit is swallowing. Swallowing is easy. I want you to swallow without activating any of the muscles within your face, like this. Only my neck moving, none of the muscles in your face. You'll see people who eat super fast use their cheek muscles, they make these weird facial expressions because they're leaning down, they're not having proper posture, and therefore they have to use compensatory muscles. Again, you swallow 650 times per day. Activating those muscles 650 times per day is obviously going to change your face, it's obviously going to create chubby cheeks, and it's going to make you worse looking. We are made by our habits, not our genetics. Learn that, learn that, learn that. Make sure you remember it, seriously. If you want to make swallowing a bit more effective, because I guarantee barely any of you actually swallow efficiently, you can perform an exercise called tongue chewing, where you repeatedly push a piece of gum against the T-spot, the roof of your mouth. Here's B-roll of me doing it right now. This will strengthen the genioglossus, hyoglossus, and styloglossus muscles within your tongue, which will therefore strengthen the amount of force your tongue can exert, allow you to swallow more efficiently, allow you to get a better suction, and shift your face upwards and forwards. You can also perform things like the tongue tie stretch, where you push your tongue on the T-spot, you push backwards with your finger, and this will stretch the tongue tie, again, stretch the muscles, allow you to swallow more effectively, and you'll be cooking. Okay, habits are sorted. Now let's get into a bit more advanced stuff. If you're still watching, you're doing well, but it's gonna get even better. Let's go into some mechanical techniques. You've nailed the habits, and this is the foundation of everything. And if you had perfect habits from birth, you'd be the best looking, healthiest version of yourself, but you didn't, so you aren't. So listen up. If you want these habits to actually work for you and not against you, not only do you need to recorrect them, but you also need to do specific techniques to decompress the sutures, loosen the fascia, and open up the lymphatic system. Those are the 3 key pathways which I want you to remember. The sutures are the joints in your skull that connect all of the bones. If these are not decompressed, they do not allow for movement of the bones. Similarly, if your fascia is tight, the muscles don't work properly and the face gets constricted downwards and backwards. Same thing with your lymphatic system. So how are we going to loosen these things to make habits more effective? Well, we're going to follow some mechanical techniques, working mostly with our own thumbs, our own hands, and our own bodies, because the more you do things to yourself, the more biologically regulated it becomes. This is something I learned from Dr. Mike Mew, and you can check out the video we did with him. You can check out the private masterclass he dropped with loads of gold dust in the community. The link again is in the description, but what he said is that when you go to a chiropractor, when you go to an osteopath, when you go to an external specialist and they are doing something to you, you aren't learning. Your body isn't adapting and it's not working through the proper mechanisms. They can crack your back in place, they can fix your TMJ temporarily. It relapses instantly after a week because you didn't do it to yourself. When you have your own thumbs inside your palate pushing upwards and outwards, you feel your body working. You are able to do it every single day consistently for a long period of time, and therefore you are the only one capable of rewiring your habits. As I explained earlier, your fascia is integrated with your nervous system. So if you aren't loosening your fascia yourself, your nervous system won't learn, your biology won't rewire, and your habits won't fix, and it will all be useless. Remember that, because that's also the same principle that applies to surgery. Surgery is a joke because even if it provides short-term results, long-term, nearly every surgery will relapse because your tongue, your natural habits didn't drive things upwards and forwards. People will post surgery transformations, which, if I'm honest, still look uncanny and weird. They may post surgery results months after. Years later, they have chronic TMJ, they have pain, and they think that they need to get more surgery, more intervention, and more solutions to fix it because their judgment is clouded, they're being sold scams, and they don't understand how biology actually works. If you want the craziest transformation, do it yourself, work with yourself, and have conviction. I expanded my palate naturally more than people do who get palate expanders. I loosened my tongue tie more effectively more than people do that get their tongue tie cut. I grew my jaw forward more than people do who get double jaw surgery. I straightened my nose more effectively than people that got a nose job. You have no excuses. Take action, take action, take action. But mechanical techniques, let's get back into it. Here's what we're gonna do. Let's get hyped, let's get cracking, come on. Firstly, in order to loosen the sutures, I want you to stand up against the wall, I want you to tuck your chin, and then I want you to massage your palate from the back forward. Start at the hard palate, never touch the soft palate. Here's a photo on the screen. Start at the back palate, and bring your thumbs forward all the way to the front of your palate, going along the edges, tucking your chin, going pretty much as hard as you can, let's say like 8.5 out of 10 pressure. Stick your lower jaw forward while you do it so you improve proprioception, and it will look like this. You'll feel slight tension, slight pain, a slight uncomfortability. You will never undo years of bad habits if you don't err on the side of uncomfortability. If this feels good, I want you to do it for a minute, repeat it 3 times in a row. You can do it as many times a day as you want, but I would do it at least 3 times in a row for 1 minute. This will loosen the palatal fascia. Your palate is covered in fascia, connective tissue, specifically the anterior, posterior palatal fascia. If you do not loosen these fascial sheets that go across your palate, your sutures will not be able to decompress, your tongue will not be able to shift things upwards and forwards, and you won't create the tension you need to shift your maxilla upwards and forwards, which again is the key. So you're going to massage your palate. From there, there's loads of techniques, and I don't want to overcomplicate all of you. And again, if you want all the techniques and you actually want to create a proper routine, seriously join the community. I know it sounds like I'm talking about it too much. I just know that barely any of you will actually understand and process the information that I'm telling you. I know for a fact that barely any of you will genuinely take action for a substantial period of time. And even though it only takes weeks to see results and transform everything from the inside out, again, here's a before and after of someone's bite and teeth and completely correcting their overbite in just 6 weeks. I know that less than 1% of you will actually do this all for 6 weeks long. So therefore, you need accountability, you need structure, and that is the general purpose. But here are some more techniques that you can follow. After you massage your palate, you can perform things like hard chewing, where you can take mastic gum, chew bilaterally and forward, again, like I mentioned earlier, on each side, and this will kind of warm up the system. I want you to visualize a pyramid in your mind. At the bottom are the muscles, above that is the fascia, and above that is tongue posture. You need to activate the muscles in order to loosen the fascia. When you loosen the fascia, your tongue can actually stay against the roof of your mouth. And the moment your tongue is actually on the roof of your mouth, your entire face changes. It sounds exceptionally simple, but again, it's difficult. Everything's tight, you have bad habits, and you're being completely cooked by modern society. But again, I was way more cooked than all of you, so have not fear, because Oscar is here. Wow, cringe, but a light joke to keep us going. By chewing, you're activating the muscles, which will then allow you to loosen the fascia more effectively. Chew for 1 minute intensely while frowning, engaging the masseter muscles, easy as that. From there, other things you can do to warm up include massaging the face. You can massage your temporalis, you can massage your masseters, you can massage wherever you feel tension. You can stretch your tongue. Your tongue is the second most concentrated place of fascia within your body. If you stick your tongue out as far as possible, and then pull it even further with a towel. Again, this will create a massive stretch, which will help release tension and allow you to then go into the proper techniques, which I'm about to explain a bit more effectively. You can perform things like zygo-pulling, where you put your thumbs inside your mouth, under your cheekbones, and massage upwards and outwards. There are only 2 sutures you can directly touch with your thumbs. The first one is the mid-palatal suture located across the middle of your palate. The second is the zygomatic maxillary suture located right there. When you massage upwards and outwards at this point, you're going to release loads of tension. You will notice that it feels relatively sore. Again, I want you to do this for around a minute or as long as you need to provide relief, and keep doing it consistently. Over time, the indicator that you're doing it properly is that you will stop feeling tension, you will stop feeling pain, and this is a sign that your fascia is loosening and that your body and face are actually shifting in the right direction. And again, you can also perform various other facial exercises, but I'm not going to overcomplicate it. Pick 2 or 3 of those exercises that work for you as a warm-up. It will only take you a few minutes, and then you can go into the proper mechanical tension. Upward pressure on your palate. Thumb pulling, the key, the foundation, the most important technique that everyone needs to do. What I want you to do is stand up against the wall, tuck your chin, and thumb pull on the 3 different parts of your palate: the back, the middle, and the front, always at the edge, generally pushing upwards and outwards, because when you push outwards, you loosen the mid-palatal suture. And again, the most important difference between us and our ancestors is our ancestors had 50mm palates. We have on average 34mm palates. When your palate is narrower, you have less space for your tongue. When you have less space for your tongue cannot provide the pressure to develop everything upwards and forwards. You need to create this temporary space. And for reference, it only takes less than 20 grams of force to move a tooth. Your tongue can provide over 600 grams of force, and your thumbs can provide kilograms worth of force. So if you do not realize that your thumbs can genuinely change your face and that your face is basically Play-Doh that is made to be adaptable, you are kidding yourself. I want you to set a timer on your phone for 3 minutes and perform this at least 3 times a day. Stand against the wall, tuck your chin, push upwards and outwards when you can no longer hold it anymore, which will be somewhere between 5 to 10 seconds when your neck begins to give out. You step forward off the wall, you stop resisting with your chin, you maintain the pressure with your thumbs, and you follow up. This will directly put all of the pressure onto your palate, which will allow the sutures to decompress a bit more efficiently, to the point where you may even hear this slight relief, these slight clicking or creaking sounds within your jaw. They'll be super faint, super hard to hear, barely audible, but that is a sign that everything's loosening and everything's shifting in the right direction. You need to hear these sounds to do it as efficiently. If you do not hear these sounds, it is because your fascia is too tight, your muscles are underdeveloped, or your sutures are compressed. Therefore, do the habits, do the warm-ups, and do loads of different things to loosen your system as much as possible. If you want one thing that I'd recommend to nearly everyone, is you can hold your breath before you thumb pull. It sounds crazy, but if you hold your breath for as long as possible, if you hold your breath, your sutures have to decompress. And this is really, really useful. So try it, think about it, set a timer on your phone, hold your breath for as long as possible, add that to the routine before you thumb pull, and see how you feel. In addition, you can also try to breathe outwards while you push up with your thumbs when thumb pulling, and then breathe inwards as you reset. This will work with cranial motion, with cranial sacral rhythm, and this is a basic cranial sacral technique that I've learned by working with all of these NDs that I'm speaking with now to launch my scientific study, which will make things a bit more effective. The most important point on your palate is the middle. Everyone needs to get a wider palate. There isn't a single person in the world with a wide enough palate unless you are a supermodel, but the front and the back both serve their purposes. You can also thumb pull on the incisive papilla, the front part of your palate, by taking one thumb, taking the other, tucking your chin and pushing up on the incisive papilla. This is a key point, and it will be especially important for people with a crooked nose or an underdeveloped chin. Each part of your palate represents the inferior side of the maxilla, and the maxilla again is linked to every part of your face. The anterior maxilla is connected to the lower jaw. If you do not have enough pressure on the anterior maxilla, you will have a recessed jaw. So fear not, have conviction. Any pressure you can get on your palate will solely be positive, and yes, thumb pulling will relapse. This is the most important thing to understand. It will relapse just as braces will, just as jaw surgery will, just as all of these things, because your tongue isn't holding the structure in place. But that is exactly why it is more effective than the others, because not only are you temporarily expanding your palate when you thumb pull, you're also loosening the fascia, decompressing the sutures. It becomes easier for your tongue to rest against the roof of your mouth, and therefore if you thumb pull and then you have your tongue on the roof of your mouth and then you mew, you will maintain the results, you will maintain the pressure, and you will fight for that extra millimeter. And every time you're fighting for that millimeter, you're thumb pulling, holding your tongue against the roof of your mouth, repeating, doing it 5 times a day for 3 minutes for 6 months, your entire face changes, everything goes in the right direction, bosh. If you want to know how to mew properly, here is exactly how to mew properly. I want you to smile as wide as possible. From there, I want you to say the letter T. Then I want you to keep smiling and swallow once. From there, I want you to keep swallowing repetitively until your tongue is fully suctioned on the roof of your mouth like this. Do it multiple times, and if you want a really great tip, what I'd recommend doing is setting multiple timers on your phone. I call these reticular activating system alarms. Again, another great name, but don't hate the advertiser, hate the marketer. Random play on words there. But again, another light joke to keep us going. You're gonna keep your tongue on the roof of your mouth. You're gonna set these alarms throughout the day. I have them set going off once per hour that I'm waking up. I have a little jazz playing, a little Stan Getz, if you know, you know. This alarm goes off and I let it remind me to keep my tongue on the roof of the mouth. So I perform one more suction mew. I perform that little 15-second mewing technique. I also remind myself to breathe backwards, and then I also check my posture. These are the 3 basic things, and if you actually remind yourself to check these things every single day forever, you will genuinely get to the point where your tongue is suctioned on the roof of your mouth. Again, this is all going back to the nervous system. You cannot become genuinely good looking unless your mind, your fascia, and your nervous system allow you to. If you do not take control of your habits and you do not actually remember to do these things, you will never rewire 20 plus years, 30 plus years, 40 plus years, 60 plus years of bad habits. And by the way, when you're doing all of these exercises and routines, one thing I forgot to say is that you need to be wearing tape on your face while you do them. This sounds nuts, it sounds crazy, but your fascia adapts to tension. When you wear zygomatic tape from the edge of your lips all the way to your ears, and when you wear mentalis tape on your chin, you're creating a vector of tension which subtly rewires your habits. Your fascia is something called viscoelastic, which means it adapts to pressure. This subtle upward vector literally allows better facial muscles to be activated. You will notice it almost instantly. Your breathing becomes better, you're able to activate your masters more efficiently. So if you wear tape while you chew, while you perform these exercises, it will become much more efficient and you work with your nervous system. And I'll talk about this later, but you need to be sleeping properly, and this includes mewing, sleeping with zygo tape, sleeping on your side, which I'll get into at the end. Okay, so you keep your tongue on the roof of your mouth. That covers the habits, that covers the mechanical techniques. Turn that into a proper routine. I've given you enough gold dust. And again, if you really want to create a proper 15-minute routine based off of you can join the community, send me a message and send your accountability coach, which will be assigned a message, and they can help you make a custom routine. And there are also custom routines already within the school anyway. And again, here's some more transformations on the screen to keep you motivated and to help you realize that you are not alone and there are loads of other people actually benefiting and that you can too. Now, moving on, I want to talk about some health related things, diet, sunlight, all of that lovely jazz. And I'm going to keep it as simple and as efficient as possible. You can obviously work with your face, you can obviously rewire your habits, but you are only as good as your worst biomarker. Wow, another good quote from me. I'm on a roll. Again, if you want another one, here's one that I've written down. No one steal this. I'm going to put a copyright on it. Here it is. Do not trade your intuition for someone else's ideology. I know, Oscar, you're a poet. I may have lost the plot. I may be going a bit nuts because I'm sitting here alone talking to a camera in a dark room, but again, we keep pushing. Sunlight is the most important thing. Above every micro and macronutrient you can possibly get from your diet, sunlight is the foundation of health. We don't exist without the sun. No process within your body exists without the sun. Energy in your body does not exist without the sun. Your mitochondria cannot function properly. And again, another good quote straight from biology class, the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. We all know that. If you do not expose your eyes and skin to the sun, your mitochondria will not function as efficiently as possible. And here's some source. Nearly every scientific study that is performed on sunscreen is performed on people that are innately unhealthy in the first place. Obviously, people will say that you need to fear the sun in order to not age. If these studies are performed on people with high levels of seed oils in their system and as a result a high level of omega-6 to 3 ratio, in combination they probably have high inflammation, they're chronically stressed, they have a narrow palate, they can't filter air properly, their digestion's messed up and everything's weak. Of course, because they have all these toxins in their body, when they're exposed to the sun, they will burn. That is their body signaling that they have loads of toxins which they need to excrete somehow, but they're stuck and the sun is burning you. Therefore, if they wear sunscreen, they will not get as sunburnt because they are hiding the underlying root cause. If they are missing the root cause, which is the fact that their gut health is bad in the first place, of course, sunscreen will help prevent them from getting sunburnt. However, if you're genuinely healthy and you're consuming enough animal fats and you're consuming the proper human diet, then your body will actually be healthy enough to benefit from the sun. Not only will you not get sunburnt, but you will actually use it to literally generate energy through your mitochondria in your body. And if you want one bit of source with regard to this, you have something in your body called the solar callus. You need to build this up in order to build up your internal sunscreen, in order to build up your natural health so that you can actually get back to the point where you are healthy enough to benefit from the sun. And again, if you want something really interesting, levels of skin cancer are significantly higher in indoor workers than they are outdoor workers. And if that isn't a testament to the fact that the sun isn't going to kill you, then you're not listening to me. But if you want to build up the solar callus, what you can do is focus on exposing your body to the sun in the morning and the evening. Everyone knows about red light light therapy and everyone agrees on its benefits, but no one realizes that the sun is the best form of red light therapy. If you go out in the sun in the morning and the evening, that is pure infrared light being put onto your skin and onto your body. And this will help build something called urocanic acid in your skin, which will then help you absorb UV more efficiently, prevent you from getting sunburnt, and actually allow you to use the energy from the sun at peak UV hours from the middle of the day. So if you want to avoid getting sunburnt forever, only go out in the sun during sunrise and sunset, and then start at a very small amount in actual middle of the day sun and slowly build it up. Literally, it can be 30 minutes of sunrise sunlight, 30 minutes of sunset sunlight, and then 2 minutes of UV light. And you slowly build up from 2 to 3, from 3 to 5, 5 to 10, and eventually you will never get sunburnt again. Especially if you combine this with actually putting saturated fat in your skin. Things like coconut oil, tallow are super efficient and useful. And if you really want to use sunscreen, you can use non-nano zinc oxide, but I would seriously avoid using chemical sunscreens, which will have toxic chemicals like oxybenzone and loads of other ingredients. If you cannot read the ingredients, you should not be putting them on your skin. And if you cannot consume the ingredients, you should not be putting them on your skin. Your skin is your body's largest organ. It will absorb literally everything that you put onto it. And so work with your intuition, work with nature, do not work with other people's ideologies. In combination, if you want to actually fix your gut, the easiest thing that I recommend, consume animal foods as the base of your diet. I was basically vegetarian at points in my life growing up. So was my mum. By the way, here's my mum's transformation at the age of 58 from this to this. She was vegetarian before, now she eats liver every single morning. Animal foods are the base of a healthy human, and they are the foundation of you getting enough nutrients to actually operate and function at the highest level that you're meant to. It will also allow your hormones to function more efficiently. You can do all of the structural stuff you want, and I think people significantly underrate the importance of breathing, but you need these hormones to function properly so that your skin is clear, your eyebrows are full, you don't have dandruff, you don't have acne, you don't have autoimmune conditions, and everything heals. My mum healed her autoimmune conditions purely by following my diet. And again, I'm not going to waste too much more of your time, so I'm going to make it as efficient as possible. I think people should generally be consuming meat and seafood as the base of their diet, and adding in things like raw dairy, fruit, and maybe some starchy carbs if you are exceptionally active. I don't think we consume starchy carbs in nature, but you do also need to understand that they're a modern adaptation. There are no gyms in nature, but if you actually want to build muscle and look good, you also need to adapt this to consuming some starchy carbs based off of the level of unnatural energy that you are expending, and this is the one exception. But meat and seafood should be the base of a healthy human's diet, and this should be something that you're consuming every single meal. But without wasting too much more time on diet, I also want to talk about the importance of leptin sensitivity with regard to bloating, gut health, and everything in between. Many people disregard the importance of the timing at which you eat. You should be eating your biggest meal first thing in the morning in order to reset your leptin sensitivity and improve your gut. This will also be directly interlinked with the way that you breathe. When you have proper leptin sensitivity, this will be interlinked with your nervous system and with your breathing and with your stress. And these things all go back to the basic habits. When you breathe more efficiently, you know the rest. But make sure you're consuming animal fats, make sure you're consuming these things first thing in the morning. Again, generally speaking, if you want to be truly healthy, you need to eat the way that we were naturally made to. People will throw around these false stats about our ancestors only living to 30, but that was purely due to a high infant mortality rate. Our ancestors didn't have skin cancer, they didn't have half the diseases which we created from processed food and a toxic modern lifestyle. And again, going into a bit more depth, I don't think people should be overcooking their food, overcooking their meat. The more you cook meat, the more nutrients that you kill. That doesn't mean you need to eat everything raw, but you should not be consuming well done steak. It should at least be rare, because you will also kill the natural water content. And going into a bit more depth, we are made of structured water. Structured water is what hydrates your fascia efficiently. If you do not have good fascia, again, you know the rest. However, meat, seafood, fruit, dairy, these things have natural water content in them, and you should not be needing to consume 3 liters of water per day. You should be getting multiple liters of water just from the food that you consume. If you overcook your food, if you consume unnatural processed things, you will not get natural structured water. Your body will not be able to use the minerals and cofactors naturally bound to the food that it's meant to consume. You will not benefit, you will not be healthy or look healthy. In addition, don't neglect the importance of nature. You should be grounding. This will reduce reactive oxygen species. It will help reset your body. Again, people think that these things are small, tiny, little details, but they're intrinsically intertwined within our nature. And the more we deviate from nature, the more superficial problems that are created. All of the issues I had, TMJ, bruxism, sleep apnea, asthma, gut issues, dandruff, acne, none of them exist in nature. There are literal islands, as you can see on the screen here, where there hasn't been one recorded case of acne, and people think it's normal and they use toxic chemical solutions. And this goes into the next part. Avoid as many chemicals as you can. Xenoestrogens will cook your hormones. Whether you're a woman or a man, they're toxic and they will ruin natural processes within your body. Use white vinegar to clean your dishes and wash your clothes. You can add a bit of baking soda if you need. It's a crazy strat. It works so efficiently. It's insane. Stop putting toxic chemicals on your skin. You can put coconut oil in your body. You can put tallow on your face. Get a shower filter. But honestly, I don't use cleansers. I don't need to. I previously used loads of products. I haven't gotten acne or any skin issues in loads of time. And here are my biomarkers on the screen with my testosterone literally tripling over the last year and a half. Same thing goes with little things like wearing polyester clothing. Linen is king. Do not forget this. Organic cotton disinfectant is also exceptionally powerful. And I would say to limit things like colognes too much. You don't need to go full crazy. Not every single detail matters. It's about getting a consistent routine that you can maintain, but I would at least put cologne on your clothes rather than directly on your skin. If you're a woman and you want to wear makeup, at least try to use non-toxic brands without too many toxic chemicals. This is really important, and it was foundational in my own sister's transformation and all of these women's transformations. And by the way, in the community, there is a full women's guide. You will get access to speak directly with my sister and my mum, because again, I know that there are things that you won't want to hear from me that you can speak to them directly about if you're interested. But let's keep pushing. I sidetracked a bit with the little health stuff. I'm not going to waste too much more of your time on it. I may make more detailed videos in the future, but I'm going to try to focus on what I'm best at, the face, the body, and movement. And this goes perfectly into the final key step. I know I'm getting a bit more low energy, but I've just got a random shock of energy. I'm back. Let's keep cracking. Movement is foundational. It is the base of your body. If you do not move in the correct patterns, you will not be able to have proper posture, and your entire body will be more susceptible. You develop knee issues, hip pain, postural issues, and your face will collapse backwards and downwards, and you won't actually be able to keep your tongue on the roof of your mouth. The other basic habit is walking. Nearly everyone now walks incorrectly with improper spiral because, again, we've developed bad habits. If you look at any animal in nature, they move in the same pattern. Look at the tiger, look at the lion, look at the way that babies crawl. It's the same pattern. The worse we breathe and the worse habits we have, this also cascades throughout your entire body. Your tongue being on the roof of the mouth affects your fascia, and your fascia cascades throughout your entire body. The same thing goes where something I haven't talked about is when you have braces, when you have orthodontics, when you have these things, which not all of them are innately bad, when you're shifting things unnaturally and when the tongue isn't the one shifting it, your fascia will also become tight, and again, this will cascade throughout. Again, is the reason why if you have a retainer, I'd be exceptionally cautious, and I would try to get to the point where your tongue acts as your natural retainer, because the fascia cascades throughout. It will impair movement, it will impair posture, it will impair breathing, and all of these little things add up. But let's get back to moving. When you walk, I want you to walk with your toes in, heel coming out, tendon flexing, arching your foot, as simple as that. And the easiest way to visualize it is walk like a model. Strut, strut, strut. Walk on the runway, and you'll see the same thing in people like Michael Jordan. Look at the way he walks. The average person today, their foot collapses because we don't have the proper foundation and we become reliant on shoes. You can get things like barefoot shoes, but even more important than wearing barefoot shoes are, again, training your feet. Use slant boards, learn to walk correctly, flex that tendon, as easy as that. Not to mention, I also want you to be conscious of the way that your knees move. Your knees should go over your toes. It should not be caving inwards. If your knee caves in, your pelvis tips forward, your superficial front line gets stretched, and your tongue isn't able to stay on the roof of the mouth. Your knees should not cave in. It should be over your feet. Remember this. And if you want to take this a step further, you can perform foundational exercises like barefoot sprinting. This is the most ultimate human movement. We may not have sprinted in nature, but it is one of the only movement that works every single muscle, pushing and pulling at the same time in perfect unison. When you do it, it's the ultimate test of fascia. Try and do it while flexing your tendon. Try and keep your knee over your toes. Try and keep your head upright. Try and move your arms in motion, head back and forth. Maintain the proper fascial pattern. Here's a video of Usain Bolt to show exactly how this works. Okay, I know this video is getting very long now, but movement is foundational. Again, I will make more and more in-depth videos on this because it's a massive topic, but those are the basic steps. Other exercises you can perform are things like towel scrunches, where you take a towel and scrunch your toes. You'll begin to get this foot-glute connection, the connection between your feet and your glutes. This is the first step, and then eventually you want to get a foot-tongue connection. When you thumb pull, when you do these things, flex the tendon, keep your feet off of the wall, and try that, because eventually you'll get to the point where even when you're just thumb pulling, you'll begin to feel it shaking and trembling throughout your entire body. And one final thing to fix your movement and posture, you can perform mace belt exercises. Mace belt is cracked because it's pushing and pulling, it's moving your body in unison, and it's actually allowing the fascia to glide because it's not a crazy heavy weight. It's working with foundational movement. And one small point I would say is to walk as much as possible. If you're relearning how to walk, you need to perform it consistently. Just as the same with doing all the other exercises but not having the baseline habits nailed. If you do not walk correctly, no matter how many times you activate the tendon, no matter how many times you remind yourself, you will always resort back to baseline. So not only is it foundational for your health, again, we aren't made to sit there all day. We should be walking, moving constantly. And this is one of the key causes of so many health issues. So if you really want, I highly recommend just walking correctly with upright posture, tongue on the roof of the mouth, walking with your feet in, relearning everything from scratch. The more you walk, the healthier you'll be, the more effective your metabolism, etc. Now, really quickly, I want to go over a couple quick superficial things that all of you can try as soon as possible. And again, I know the attention span of the modern person is cooked, so I know you're getting tired. I know you want to click off the video, but just lock in for one more second. Here's some more transformations. Maintain your attention span, just a couple more minutes. Superficial quick things. If you want to wash your hair naturally without chemicals, try a quarter of an egg yolk mixed with a teaspoon of unheated honey. It sounds nuts, it sounds crazy, but it will genuinely work. In order to sleep properly, and again, sleep is the foundation of your entire body. If you're not sleeping properly and you don't have a proper circadian rhythm, you're cooked. Make sure you expose your eyes to the sun first thing in the morning. This is the easiest thing you can do, not only to sleep better, but also to improve your eyesight. Expose your your eyes directly to sunrise and sunset when it is below 30 degrees in the sky. I will make a more detailed video on eyesight later on when mine is fully fixed. But with sleep, the easiest thing you can possibly do is this. Sleep on your side in fetal position, sleep on a pillow, sleep with a pillow in between your legs, thumb pull for 1 minute before you sleep, then perform 1 suction mew, and then apply zygomatic tape up your cheekbones and onto your chin. This will force you to nasal breathe, it will force you to maintain good habits, and it will literally mean that while you sleep, your face begins to remodel subtly and gently because you're providing the input. Tape on your face provides a natural input to your nervous system through proprioception for an upward vector to form. When this happens, the SMAS, as I said before, the superficial musculo-aponeurotic system, adapts, the fascia contracts, wrinkles minimize, and your tongue rests against the roof of your mouth. Do not neglect zygomatic tape. Do not neglect Mentalis tape. If you want to get this, you can go to zygotape.com. And by the way, the rest of the products that I recommend are all linked within my community as well. Generally speaking, there aren't that many products recommended, but some more superficial things. You can use an AeroFit device to train the muscles within your face. That's pretty useful, but I think Zygotape is more important than AeroFit for most people in terms of product to buy. You can also consider using a mouth guard while you sleep, something like a myobrace to stretch the soft tissue, but again, habits are more important than any external device, and Zygotape and mewing is the most important thing to maintain good facial posture. And you can use things like non-nanohydroxyapatite if you want naturally white teeth without any toxic chemicals and fluoride. You can oil blade the rib cage and the fascia to open up the abdominal wall to improve digestion and reset your fascia. Again, I'm going to make a more detailed video on that. You can perform methods like nasion growth and orbicularis oculi training for superficial quick boosts where you can temporarily straighten your nose and train your eyes. Those don't tackle the root cause, but they are useful. And then that should be everything, my friends. I did a full breakdown: habits, diet, sunlight, sleep, facial techniques, movement, the whole lot. I hope that's useful. Again, here's my transformation for more proof. Here are a load of more transformations to back it up. Scientific study, more videos with Dr. Mike Mew coming. Massive things in the works. When we hit 500,000 subscribers, I'm going to drop the craziest video of all time that literally all of you will want to watch. So consider that. And also do not forget to subscribe. This was a movie. Do not fall for lies. Do not fall for scams. Tackle the root cause. Looksmaxing is healthmaxing. No matter how old you are, you can always take action. And even though things may be more malleable when you're younger, when you're older, you can work smarter. You can create a custom routine, and you can loosen the fascia, loosen the sutures to temporarily create the conditions for everything to shift upwards and forwards. So you have no excuses. Take action. Go for it. Health is looks. You're all legends. Peace.